Karen asks this great question. Can you clarify how to think from the end and not of the end? Oh, yes. I totally can relate to how it confuses you, because it confused me and I had to really wrap my head around it. I feel like some of these Neville Goddard teachings, you have to just be like, what? So yeah, thinking of the end is when we are very much identifying with being this version of ourselves now, the version of ourselves without whatever it is that we want. And we're thinking of what we want from the perspective that we don't have it. Does that make sense? And so often attached to that is a lot of like wishing and hoping and stress and doubting. And so we think we're thinking about what we want, but we're radiating the energy of what we don't want. We're radiating the energy of not having it, of not being it, of not living it, etc. In comparison, or in contrast, thinking from the end, living from the end, is the practice of transporting yourself in your imagination to the version of you that has it already, where it's your normal. See, the subconscious mind is designed to protect us from anything that is unfamiliar. So it might be in a reality that we don't want, but it's familiar. And so to our subconscious mind, that's the safe place to stay, and it's going to try and keep us there. Whereas if we can stretch our subconscious mind and expose our subconscious mind and familiarize our subconscious mind with what we want, with that other reality, then that thing is no longer something that we feel we don't have, something that we wish we could have and we want it so badly. You know, all of these emotions are very much thinking of the end. Thinking from the end feels more like, okay, I've taken the time to sit and sometimes it's hard to do this, okay? It takes practice, it takes patience, it takes repetition. But Neville Goddard talks about how he would sit in his armchair and he'd close his eyes and he'd spend a good amount of time living in the wish fulfilled, to the point where, you know, when you can get so into a vision or an imagination that you've forgotten where you are, right? You're so in your head and you spend time in that scenario. And I would recommend, you know, don't spend time in the scenario where, like what I used to do with visualization is I'd picture like the moment when it happens and you're like, I'm so happy, so excited, happy tears, oh my God. But actually in that moment that you're visualizing, you're maybe actually visualizing a version of you who can't believe like, oh, this wonderful things happen. Like you might still be identifying as a version of you that feels like this is a big lucky break for you, but you don't know if you can sustain it because you don't know if you feel good enough. So imagine even further in your future, once the thing has happened, the moment's come, the thing's manifested, and it's become your normal now. You're not even excited about it anymore. Maybe you're grateful for it, but it's become your new normal. When you're at that stage and the numbers or the amount of money or the relationship or the job or the opportunity is no longer on a pedestal, it no longer feels like a big deal. It just feels as normal to you as your current home environment, as your current things. So that's what living and thinking from the end is about, is that you've actually transported yourself to there, and then you're looking around from the perspective of the version of you that where you're familiar with. Your wildest dreams are just normal to you now. They're not wildest dreams. They're like, yeah, this is available to me. And that's why a lot of law of assumption teachings are very sort of like powerful and matter of fact, and just like, yeah, I can have it. I assume I can have it, because that's how your next level version of you would feel about it, right? They wouldn't be like, oh, please, I wish, please, universe, I want it so badly. Like law of assumption approach is very much more just like, cool, I know it's available for me. Because that's how you would feel in the end, right? When it's your norm. It's no biggie. It's great. You're grateful for it, but it's no biggie. You can practice thinking from the end as you go about your day-to-day life as well. You know, how would that version of you respond to that person? You know, that's something really powerful, is like, if you currently maybe get triggered by drama, or you feel like, oh, I just have to correct this person or whatever, like maybe that version of you in the future, they wouldn't even be wasting their energy. It wouldn't matter. It's like, let people have their opinions, let people be people. You know, so maybe you would rise above things in a way that you weren't before. Or maybe you would make slightly different choices, or the way you would compose yourself in a conversation, how you would talk to someone, how you present yourself would be different. So you can actually practice not just thinking from the end, but living from the end as well. Hope that helps. That was such a great question.